Hello, everyone, and happy Great Bead Extravaganza Saturday. Well, I am pre-recording this for you. If you watched my Free Tip Friday yesterday on the 20th, you saw me in all of this same garb, and we're going to go now right into creating this necklace with the special kit that I made for you folks for the Great Bead Extravaganza Fall Fest called Looking East. Before we get to that though, let me show you. Let me add this up onto the screen. You can see I've got the necklace right here. And if you missed grabbing the kit, let me get those cords out of the way. Those aren't pretty. There we go. If you missed grabbing the kit, you can jump right over to beadshop.com. Let me show you a couple of things so you can see where to shop, see where to save, and then we'll get started. You can see right down below, I've got this ticker running, and you can see our code this weekend for beadshop.com is TGBE20, and you can save store-wide through midnight Sunday night, 10/22. Again, that is TGBE20. You can put that in at checkout. Speaking of checkout, let me go ahead, friends. I'm going to add in the Bead Shop website so you can see that real quick here. Let me share my screen. There we are. You can see that discount is right on the home page. I am actually filming this before the kits have launched. So right now, live, well, not live on Friday, you're seeing the Looking East kits. But if you want to do some shopping for our different pie discs that I'm using in this broadcast, as well as some of the tribal and trade beads, just click on over to shop, beads and gems. Click that Vintage Finds, Tribal and Trade, and then you can scroll down here to any of the other beauties that you'd like, some seed beads, spacers, that kind of thing. Also right here are metal beads category if you want to add any metal in as well. Okay, so that's where to find things there. Let me go back to that home page, and don't forget to use that great Bead Extravaganza store-wide coupon. Okay, so let me get back to the task at hand. Let me take my screen out of there. I'll flash this code a little bit later on as well. And let me also apologize, folks. I know that comments while you're watching this live, I know that comments are coming in fast and furious. I'm sorry that I can't answer them live. I'll try and encompass everything what I'm doing here on this piece so that I answer all of your questions. If not, though, folks, and you do have questions, don't forget, you can find us everywhere online. You can shoot us an email at info@beadshop.com. Also, hit us up on our Facebook group, The Bead Table, our Instagram page, and of course, our Pinterest boards. If you're watching on YouTube, either live or on a replay, also, friends, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and thumbs up button. All of the social engagement that we can get from you helps us immensely. So we really, really appreciate you folks out there. All right, well, let's get into it, shall we? Here's the piece right here. And I'm going to neaten this up a bit. When you get your kit, you're going to dump it out. And you can see my broadcast from yesterday on all of the Bead Shop outlets, as well as the Great Bead Extravaganza. I talked a little bit about my inspiration for this kit, a little bit about the layout and the beads that I've chosen. So if you want a little bit more background or information on that, you can find that. Best place to go is our beadshop.com YouTube channel. You can find that under Free Tip Friday, and just click on the Free Tip Friday banner, or the slider that has this kit on it. And you'll see. I talk about all this anyway. So whether you're doing the kit or no, I think that this project with this kind of centerpiece necklace is a beauty. And you can adapt this to things that you might stash dive with at home. Get the kit, add some of your own pieces, start from scratch, however you want to do it. The focal of this piece, however, is one that I did for the kit. I hope to get some more of these in soon. This is a brass centerpiece that I really, really love. And I'm using some wax linen here in the center. And so I'm kind of making an assemblage piece here, for, kind of a mixture of all of these pieces. So you can kind of create an interesting centerpiece with this. So here in the sample, this has a 40 millimeter disc. This is our carnelian disc. You can see it's about 40 millimeters here. The disc that I included, if you grab the kit, this disc is actually a little bit larger. It's a 50 millimeter. I'm going to work with that one today, but we have plenty of these smaller ones as well. And hopefully soon we'll have some more of these brass pieces. I just adore them. Every time I get them from our African trader when he comes to visit, they're always a little bit different. But if you have one from previous releases that we've done, or you have something like this in your stash, just adapt it a little bit, and see what works for you. This necklace with the kit that I've made, it's 22 inches in length. And let me actually put it on so you can see where that hits on me. I wear a pretty average size necklace, but I like this one to lay just a little bit longer. Okay, so this right here, and you can see I'm wearing a scarf and stuff today, it fits a little bit lower here like this. If I lift the scarf, let me take this off, you can see where it hits me on my neck. So it's a little bit longer, really great for layering as well. But this is a 22-inch length here. Let me put that down just a little bit here. Okay. So I've used every single bead that comes in the kit. You can certainly shorten it, or you can lengthen it if you add some more beads from Bead Shop or some more beads from your bead stash. So let's go back here and get back to the project. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to attach this centerpiece and the disc and everything together. The thread that I'm having you use, and I'm going to just really delicately put these kind of over here so I've got some space. I'll make sure that my layout, you can do your layout when you get your kit however you like it, but I've laid it out according to what I have here on the sample. You can also see a great photo of this if you go to the Looking East project over on beadshop.com. There'll be a nice layout, a project map that you can follow along if you want your bead layout to look exactly like mine. So this is the wax linen. It's 4-ply, okay? And the wax linen, I think, works really beautifully when I want to convey kind of a natural feel to the piece that I'm making. Now, you may have Ceylon, regular Ceylon, hemp, Chinese knotting cord. All of those cords will also work, right? Because these holes are pretty big. So choose your stringing material. If you're starting from scratch, we do carry this Irish wax linen that I'm using here, or we also carry hemp, Chinese knotting cord, regular Ceylon. The regular Ceylon looks like this on the spool. Use whatever floats your boat, but a natural thread kind of configuration, I think, really works best for this. So let's go ahead and attach. Let me put this one there. I'm going to use this as my inspiration. This one may come out actually a little bit different. I don't know. You can see I started here. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see this. I started just with the wax linen, and I wrapped it. So it's a design feature on this disc. This one's a little smaller. This one's a little bit larger. So my configuration actually might be a little bit different. We'll see what happens. don't sweat it. You know what I mean? This beading stuff is all about being creative. So let's be creative. Let me show you how I measure, first of all. Okay. I need some for the length, some Irish wax linen for the length of my necklace, but I also need some for the connection point of this centerpiece. So this wax linen here is a separate piece from the piece that's going up into the body of the necklace. This piece is separate. So I'm going to reel off some wax linen here. And for the length of my necklace, I'm going to do it on a doubled strand on each side. So I need about this plus this little bit of extra. So I'm going to cut the pieces I'm going to need for my side strands. I'm going to cut those first and then put those aside. Okay. So, and this is a 10-yard nest that you get in the kit, and this is how we sell them on Bead Shop. So I want to make sure that I have enough. So I'm going to cut, this is doubled, oops, come back here. I'm all thumbs with this, hang on. This is about, I would cut yourself about 30 inches and double it. So, or 60 inches. So it's doubled to 30. Okay. And I do that twice. So here's one long 60-inch strand, and I'll cut it. And then I'll get another long 60-inch strand, just using that strand that I went before, that I measured before. And see here, I just have the end here, and I'm going to clip it. Now, the ends here that I've got, we want to keep them doubled over like this, because we're going to eventually put these around the discs like this. But I'm going to very carefully put this aside, hopefully so I don't lose it. But now I've got a whole bunch of wax linen that I can use to attach this centerpiece to this disc. So let me cut, I don't know, I'm going to cut like another 2 yards off of this. This is a whole ton of thread, and I think that should work. So I still have some of this left over, and I was generous with my 2 yards. Okay. So now I want to identify, you can see on this one, the smaller one, that the loops connect kind of on the side of the disc here. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this centerpiece. Let me get a little tighter in here, zoom in a bit. There we go. Zoom in a bit so you can see kind of how I'm going to weave this in. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to start. I'm going to start here on the side and weave this through. So I have a center here. And I think I'm just going to come around. I'm going to go through the disc. And I'm doing this without any gluing. Someone may be asking about glue for this. No glue. So I'm going to come in here. You might want to cut yourself a little bit of a shorter strand. I don't know. I want this back strand to weave through the center. I'm just going to wrangle all this thread, do the best that I can. But what we're looking to do is to get a nice, solid connection between this brass piece and this disc. So can you see what I did here? I like figure-eighted it through with this little piece on the end. Now I'm going to come through and I'm going to use these strands now as if they were a single strand, but I'm going to double them and use them doubled over, or hold the 2 strands is what I'm saying. So see, it goes through that loop and we tighten. I'm going to get these beads kind of out of my way. I'll lay them out again in a second. But this is my first pass. And can you see how it looks nice and sturdy and even? I've gone through, my doubled thread comes through. It weaves to the back, to the front, and through that loop there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to weave it back and forth through. You could also do this with a single strand, but I feel that since I'm using a double strand, it goes a little bit faster, right? So I'm going to pull it through there, not too tight, because if it's too tight, your tension's going to be funny and this is going to pull funny, right? So I went through that side loop on this pendant. I'm going to go through the center of my disc. I like this larger disc. I'm so glad I chose these large ones for the kit. Remember, the sample is a little bit smaller, the 40 millimeter. And if you didn't grab the kit and you're grabbing some 40 millimeter discs from Bead Shop, you're going to do this the same way. It's just going to be a little smaller, right? I think I'm going to add some of these 50 millimeters. I think they're so cool looking. I'm going to go through that side, put both of these. This Irish wax linen, the other cool thing about it is you can kind of stiffen it up like that, pull it tight, and then push it through. Okay. So you can do this however as many times as you'd like. I'm going to go through, I think, one more time, like so, just so it's nicely connected. I'm going to go a little more at Kate speed here to get this done, because I'm doing this all, pardon me, all of this in real time. Okay, so around, and now I go up and through this disc. So I'm going to come in and I want to add, you can leave it like this with nothing in the center, but I left myself an Ashanti saucer. Can you see that there? Because I wanted that kind of in the center. So if you want that Ashanti saucer in the center, what I did was I pulled this Irish wax linen through the back. I'm going to come around the front, maybe I'll come around this way from the side, because I don't have a line like that up there. And I'm going to go through the Ashanti saucer. And I'm going to go to the back. Then I'm going to come around the side. Like this. And what I have is this Ashanti saucer nicely in place. Now, if I wanted to decorate this with some more of this Irish wax linen, I have plenty. So maybe I'll just come in. I've got room. You could put other beads or something on the top of this too. But, I'm also going to come in with the sides with these here. So, I think I'm going to actually call it a day with this bottom, and I'll show you how to tie it off. So right here on the back of this, what I'm going to do is, and you can see I've just really knotted it here on the back. And the Irish wax linen has such a nice feel to it that I don't even mind kind of seeing the knot here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide one of these strands under either side. Oops, I don't want this to knot up yet. Thank you very much. Hang on. This Irish wax linen is a little sticky, which is a good thing, but not so much when you want to untie a knot. So see how I put it underneath there? I've come through, I've got one strand down here, one strand up here, and I'm just going to tie a square knot right over left and down. leftover right and down like that. And I'm going to come in with some GS Hypo Cement, and I'm just going to put some glue on that knot, and then later I can cut away these ends. I'll add the glue in a little bit. This Irish wax linen, to be honest, if I didn't glue this, this would probably be fine anyway, because the wax linen is so super sticky. I'm just going to go ahead and cut it a little bit longer. Now I'll come back in later, add a little drop of glue right there, let it dry, and then I'll cut the tails away. You may get a little bit of wax residue on this disc, just how it is. I'm going to get a paper towel and just shine that back up. There we go. A few less fingerprints on there. So now let's go ahead and add one of the sides of this. So I had my Irish wax linen from before, one of the 60-inch pieces. And I'm going to come in. You can see here on this one, I put the Irish wax linen through the loop of the Ashanti saucer and came around. I actually put it through like twice and did that, right? But what I'm going to do here, this is a little different, and I think I'm going to like it a little bit better. I'm going to come through with this end, this doubled end. I'm going to come through the cord, and that doubled over cord is just going to sit nice and even. I think that's called, when we do it in macrame, it's called a lark's head knot. But look at how nice and easy that connects. Let me do it on the other side for you. Of course, I've got a knot in my Irish wax linen. I hope you enjoy this. You know, this would just be beautiful, just as a centerpiece, just like this. Put it on some leather cord, right? And you are good to go. We've got a lot of nice leather cords and cotton cords and stuff at Bead Shop as well. So I'm going to go through the center here. Come back through. You could do the same thing with thin leather if you wanted leather on this. Instead, you could use the 0.5 millimeter leather that we carry at Bead Shop. But look at how beautifully that connects, right? And if you wanted to add more embellishing on this, you could wrap some more cord. You could get Irish wax linen in a contrasting color, whatever. But that's how you get the centerpiece on there. So now let me zoom out a little bit and let's lay out our beads. My beads were really nicely laid out, but now they're a mess. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to switch boards on you. I'm going to get my bead board here. Let me get this out of the way. Let me slide this one in, and I'm going to put this to the side. This is going to help me keep everything nice and even, especially when I'm doing something that's symmetrical, right? This is our bead design board. Mine's a little worse for wear. I love them. You can use our metal triangles in there to put your pieces in. They fit just perfectly there. So, but for now, I'm going to lay my necklace there, and I'm going to lay this out according to my design. So I've got a large, what we call our currants beads, but it's our recycled glass. I've got a couple of Ashanti saucers, the Crobo bead. These are kit exclusives. These are really beautiful amber reproductions from Ghana. Some Nigerian horn I have here. And I promise, I do have some new tribal and trade beads that are coming soon. So if tribal and trade beads are your thing, go over to beadshop.com and sign up on our newsletter, my friends. We send a newsletter out when we get some of our new things in, and I've got some new beautiful trade beads launching soon. So you can see I'm just going ahead according to my pattern that I have here, laying those out. Here's another French cross reproduction of very old trade beads. These are new. from Ghana. They're not older ones, but the glass quality on these are really beautiful. A Crobo bead here, another Crobo slice, and a recycled, and this is going to be the clasp there. Okay, so let me just very quickly do that here on the other side as well. I'm not usually a big layer outer. I don't know if that's even the right word, of patterns, but when I've established this pattern like I have here, and I am just laying this out to string, this really lessens my incidence of mistakes. I still might make a mistake. I might lay it out wrong, but it kind of helps me pull everything together, and I can use all of the help I can get with that. So again, this is 22 inches worth of beads that I'm laying out. I didn't lay them out right across from each other. It's a little bit off, but I believe that the beads are in the right order, which is the main thing. There we go. And on the closure, what we're going to do, this is the bicone, the French cross bicone, and then we're going to do a macrame loop on that side. So I'm going to show you. So this is going to be Kate speed stringing. Okay, so I've got my centerpiece right here ready to go. My doubled strand of this Irish wax linen, nice and kind of pushed together, so it acts as one thread, really flies through these beads that have large holes. You could make this strand longer. As I said, we're working with about a 22-inch necklace. You could elongate this for sure by putting some other beads in. You could use some of our metal beads that we call shadows. Our regular shadows would look great in here. I'm going to go ahead and do this section here as well to kind of even it up. And then we'll go to the second half. Sometimes I do that back and forth stringing when I'm working on a piece, just so that I see it as it is evolving, and I can also check my work across like this. And if I've made a mistake or whatever, I don't have to go back too far if I kind of do it in half steps. The bicones, these French cross bicones, could not be more delicious. Look at that, really is coming together beautifully. Now I'll jump back onto this side. You can see the actual stringing of this doesn't take long. The layout, and you can deviate your layout from this. The layout is what took me so dang long with this, because I wanted the balance of this piece to be right? So I had these kind of larger beads closer to the center. I wanted to kind of spread out the French cross beads. So I'm pretty happy with the balance here and the way that this looks. So there you have it. There it is. Some of these beads, the holes are kind of big, some are kind of small. So the beads may sit a little loosely. Not loosely is not the right word, but maybe a little unevenly on the thread. But that's just how these beads are, right? And that, I think, is part of the charm of this necklace. I'm going to check it to make sure this is all correct. I hope it is. And I'm sorry I can't answer your comments because this is a pre-record. So I'm sorry about that. I hope I'm answering all of your questions, but if you have specific questions, my friends, you can just shoot us an email over at info@beadshop.com. That doesn't go on yet. But this one does, here and here. Look at that, we're almost done. So now what we want to do is we want to talk about doing the closure. So I'm going to check my design. I'm going to switch boards back to the bumper boards that we carry at Bead Shop. Let me move this over there. Let me get this out of the way. and switch my business over here. Here we are. And let's go ahead, and I know that this is the same length, so I'm not going to bother right now to measure, but this is the point where you, when you're making this, may want to measure and make sure that this length is right. You can take a few beads off, as I say, add a few beads on from your stash if you want to make it longer. Look at this big disc. If you did grab this kit, this is the 50 millimeter disc. This is the 40 millimeter that I used in the sample. So you can grab a whole bunch of 40 millimeters on beadshop.com, as well as some of these Ashanti saucers, some of these recycled glass beads as well. But look at the difference between that smaller and this larger one here. I promise I'm going to try and get some more of these brass ones in as well, because I just love how that creates almost like a shield or a amulet of some kind. Isn't that cool? All right, let me flash before we do the clasp. I'm going to go ahead and put that coupon code up there. The coupon code is TGBE20 to save store-wide, and that's through midnight Pacific time on Sunday, 10/22. So I'm going to leave that scroll up for just a few, and then I'll turn it off in a minute. Okay. So when you do this closure, we're going to use this bicone for this. I'm going to get a little more up close and personal with it so you can really see what's going on. It's a lot easier than you might think. I use this closure quite a bit on a lot of different necklaces. And you can certainly use this on other pieces. The first side that I put on, I make the button side first, right? Because this button, or the in this case, the bicone, but you could use a button. We need to know what size this is going to be before we make the loop to fit it on the second side. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to go through that bicone going one way, through that bicone going the other way, and tighten it down. Right? Just like that. Try and center that bead if you can. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with a second strand of cord of Irish wax linen. I don't know, maybe a foot, 16 inches, maybe half a yard, 18 inches maybe. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to macrame a little neck around this. So just stick with me here. Watch what I do. I'm going to push these down. So you can see I've got some space there, right? And I'm just going to simply tie this end on. You could do this with different thread as well. It doesn't have to be Irish wax linen. This little piece of macrame length here could be Ceylon or whatever, right? Whatever works for you. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to cross these strands that are coming through the bead. I'm going to cross these over here. So I'm going to incorporate these strands into my macrame. So I'm going to form my loop here, and there's just a little tiny place to macrame. I think I'm actually going to tie one more knot here. I'm going to flip it over. I want to gather all of these together. That's good. Could also just tie this off nice and tight around and not do any of the macrame. If that were the case, I wouldn't do that separate strand I added in. Let me get a little tighter in here so you can see. But I want a tiny little bit of a neck. I'm going to take that banner off too. I want a tiny little bit of a neck for my loop to sit on, which is why I'm doing this macrame. So I'm going to do my loop, pointing to the left. My right strands are coming over the strand, under all of that center, the thread coming out of the necklace, and then tightening it down. And there I have one macrame stitch. Now I'm going to do it in the opposite direction. My loop, the left leg over the right leg, underneath, and up through this loop. We've got some skill builders on Bead Shop. You've seen me do this a few times. But see, there we go. And I think I have room. I don't know. This might be it. I think I've got room for one more. Let me see. Loop. And I like doing it with this doubled strand. You could have done it with the single as they're coming out of the bead and bringing it around and macrameing it down. But I wanted just a little bit of a heavier knot here. Yeah, there we go. That looks perfect. Now I'm going to come in with my GS Hypo and I'm going to glue this down. What you also need to be watching, let me zoom back a little bit so you can see this. When you tie that knot is that you haven't made this strand too tight nor too loose, right? It's a little bit of a balancing act because when you pick this up, you don't want a whole lot of space in between your beads, right? But you don't want it to be so tight that you can't, that you can't curve it naturally around your neck. Let me get my, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to treat myself to a fresh new, why not? It's Fall Fest. A fresh new GS Hypo Cement. This is my glue of choice when I'm gluing knots down. So let me get a little baggie to protect my bead, my work surface. And I'm going to come in and just glue that down. I'll glue this back knot too, now that I'm thinking of it. There we go. I'm going to let that sit. I'm going to get the needle back in, she says, hopefully. There we go. And before I push this lid all the way down, I'm going to wipe this glue off my finger and wipe this glue off from around the tip of my glue. Okay, there we go. And now I'm going to store this upright, standing upright. That will be less of a risk to have all of your glue be falling out, right? When you're working. So this is this. I'm going to let that sit for just a second, and we're going to tackle the second side. Okay, so this is where we need to make the loop. Now, let me move all this over off the edge and slide this down. So the loop, all of these beads are these ending beads that I have here. They're all a little different in size. This one that's on my necklace now is a little longer. This one's a little bit shorter. What you want to do is you're going to come in and you're going to create a loop that's just large enough for this bead to slide through. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to use that flat macrame stitch here. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to grab, just going to slide my beads down, and I'm going to cut another length of macrame cord, or of Irish wax linen is what I meant. And I'm just going to, let me see, I think I might have used a doubled strand on here because this looks kind of chunky and nice. So I think I should have taken notes, but I didn't. Let me use a doubled strand and see. This is probably about a yard of Irish wax linen here. And what you want to do is you're just going to come in and we're going to start at this end. I'm going to put this doubled strand underneath. And you can also kind of secure your piece to the board, but I'm just going to keep going. Let me see. I'm going to get, maybe I'll get the secret to really good, nice tight macrame is to have this piece really secured nicely to the board. Let me zoom out so you can see kind of what I'm doing here. It's going to be a little goofy, but it'll also, since I'm using my bumper board, though I could use my, it's not going to look pretty. It's really, yeah, that I can't show that. There, this one isn't too bad. The velvet pad that I had was not pretty. Let me go ahead and put this board down. It'll be a little bit easier for me to do the macrame here. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to find a place to kind of bring this around and clip it up top. Then I'm going to tighten all of this up. I think it needs to go a little bit higher up actually, because I need more space. There we go. Slide all of this up so it's nice and tight. And now I'm going to come in and I'm going to clip this, which I do, thankfully. There we go. So I'm going to need to macrame like my life depends on it quickly to get the length that I need. So I'm going to come in with my doubled strand. I haven't even cut the double strand open. Let me zoom now back in now that you've seen that board. Zoom in just a bit more. And I'll come in and I'm going to do my, there's my loop on this side. And I come in with this right strand over my left, underneath the center, and back up and tighten. And yeah, I like the looks of this doubled strand. We're going to keep going back and forth from the right to the left and back again. See that loop? Over, under, and up through the loop. And my loop to my right, over, under the center, and back through the loop. I don't know that on the center that I did this, on the sample that I did this double, but I'm actually not mad at it. I think it's okay to use it double. You could also do this with a contrasting thread. Let's say that you're like, well, I like the wax linen cake for stringing on, but doing macrame with it ain't my fave. Well, that's okay. You can use Ceylon. Like I said before, regular Ceylon would work really, really well. Chinese knotting cord would work well. Hemp, whatever you liked. That makes this into your loop. You could also use, gosh, if you go to beadshop.com and you look at our lookbook series, our lookbooks have some really cool designs with closures. You could use what Janice calls her Trails End closure on this, which is a little loop of leather on. You could crimp that on instead of doing the macrame. So whatever kind of you like, is the way to go. I said I cut about a yard, but with this doubled, I'm going to have enough to close, but I don't want you to struggle. So I would go ahead and actually cut yourself about 1.5 yards if you're going to double this over, because also the loops or your stitches are a little bit chunkier. Okay. Let me check and see. I'm going to do 3 more knots. 1, 2, and 3. Now it's time to check the length and to see if this fits the second side. So this is, I'm going to cut the excess off on this other side. If I were doing this in real jewelry making time and not demo time, I would let this sit a little bit longer. but I want the freedom to make sure this is about right. So let me measure and see what I've got there. That's just short of 2 inches. Let me do one more to make it 2, and then we'll see if that fits. All right. So here's my loop. I'm coming around, and I'm going to see if that loop, if that bead will slide through. See, it's just short. Can you see that? I think I need about 4 more stitches here. So I'm gonna. Now, if I ran out of thread, right, if I didn't have quite enough for 4 more stitches and the knots, I could just tie on another piece of macrame cord and keep going. I would just bring these down, tie a new piece, a new square knot over the top, and just keep going, right? That would be okay. But I think I'm going to be able to get this here. This is my least favorite when I cut my thread too short. I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm just like, oh, Lord have mercy. But I think I can do it. Because I need enough to tie this off, right? To tie the closure off. So be generous with your thread. So I'm going to slide this on. Oh, it's so close. But that's okay. We'll make it happen. And then I'll measure. So here. And it's really okay. I'm going to actually show you how I would just close this off with these tiny little ends, because this is how I would have you close it off anyway. So it's going to be fine. If there's a will, there's a way, right? That's why doing this live. I mean, I'm not live because this is a pre-record, but I'm not stopping to re-record this or change it out. So we're just going to fix those mistakes. And it's not even really a mistake. It's a little bit of a short thread. So what have I got there? That's about 2.5 inches. Let's come in and check it. We want it to go tightly enough around the bead. Yeah, that's perfect. 2.5 inches for this bead works. So let me put all of this down, all of this. Let me zoom out so you can see what I've got going on here. Okay. I'm going to cut away these guys on the back here too, so they're not in my way. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to end this macrame, especially with this Irish wax linen. It works out really well because this Irish wax linen, even if I didn't glue it, friends, isn't going to go anywhere. I'm going to add a little bit of glue there. I'm going to turn it, add a little bit more glue there. I could have even added a little glue on the base strands and then macrameed over the top of that glue. But I have complete confidence that that is going to stick around. Okay. So let's do this. What I'm going to do here now is I'm going to get these ends and I'm going to go back through this last bead here that has the large hole. And as I do that, this is going to come around and curve to form my loop. Okay, and I've got just a tiny little bit of play there because I'm going to have to tie a knot. I would let this cord that I glued, I would let it sit a little bit longer. Again, if this were a real piece I was making and not a demo piece. But I'm going to cut it off now so you don't get confused. I could take this back even a little bit further. Let's say, because this crobo bead has a nice big hole as well. And I think I'm going to tie my knot right here between. So, split your threads like so. And I'm going to tie like that macrame knot that I did almost, but I'm going to go right over left and down like so, left over right, and down like so. Flip the whole thing over, tie it again, and down. Now, if you feel like, you know what, I really want to make sure that this is knotted, these bead holes are so big, I could take it down one more. And I could do that knot tying one more time. Right over left, left over right. Flip the whole thing so you're tying around the inner strand of the necklace. And what I'll do before I tighten that knot, whoops, that's my old hypo that was broken. There we go. I'm going to add some right on that knot. Close this up, wipe the tip, tighten that down. That glue kind of permeates in there. And then after a few hours, you would cut that excess away, but I'm going to go ahead and do it now. So what we have here, my friends, let me get rid of this. Put it on this one. I have my button and loop. Let me zoom out a little bit. If you want to take a screenshot, now's the time to do it. I'm going to leave it up there for just a second while you screenshot, and I will say, I'll put the banner back up for our TGBE coupon code at Bead Shop this weekend. There we go. Okay, so that is it, my friends. I hope that you enjoyed creating this piece together with me. You can find, as I said, I'm going to put this on. You can find, as I said, all of these wonderful component parts right over on beadshop.com. You can use, as I said, that coupon code TGBE20. And folks, please do remember, if you are on beadshop.com, you can find us on all of our different socials, on Facebook, The Bead Table, on Instagram, and on Pinterest. You can also hit that like and subscribe button. And if you missed the kits, I know they sold out so quickly, you can jump on and grab yourself a disc, some Irish wax linen, some tribal and trade beads, go stash diving, and create a beautiful piece for you. Also, stay tuned, friends, to our beadshop.com newsletter. The newsletter will have more of our upcoming tribal and trade releases. I've got some coming up that you folks are really going to enjoy. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Happy TGBE weekend, everybody. After this broadcast, our buddy Jill is coming up. And I know she has a really, really great project for you. So stay tuned very shortly for Jill McKay. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. I'll see you a little bit later. I have another pre-record for you. We're going to talk about organization around all of your beads. So thanks so much, everybody. We really appreciate you. And I'll see you back here. Let me just flash that. There it is. I'm going to see you back here at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern for a little chat on organizing your beads and workspace. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you soon.